Hello, and welcome to the Whatever It Takes to Reach for the Stars virtual event, brought to you in partnership with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Annapolis and Arundel County. My name is Elise Dixon, and I will be the technical producer for today's event. Youth moderators will lead this event in honor of Read Across America Day and Women's History Month. You will hear a live book reading and have opportunities to engage in a career panel. At this time, I'm going to introduce your moderators. Our first moderator is Skylar. Skylar is from Maryland and she has 14 siblings. She loves to draw, sing, and dance in her free time. Skylar attends Annapolis Middle School and her favorite subjects are reading and science. Welcome, Skylar. Our next moderator is Logan. Logan is from Annapolis, Maryland. She likes to draw flowers, read, and watch her favorite movie, which is Beauty and the Beast. Logan attends Monarch Academy, Annapolis, and is in the 3rd grade. Her favorite color is yellow, just like the flavor of her favorite Laffy Taffy. Welcome, Logan. Next, we have Kalina. Kalina was born in Annapolis, Maryland. She attends Monarch Academy and is in the 5th grade. Kalina loves to dance, and her favorite show is One-on-One on Netflix. She has 12 siblings, and their favorite thing to do together is going to the movies. Welcome, Kalina. And last but certainly not least, we have Rain. Rain attends Annapolis Middle School and is in the 6th grade. She loves to dance in her free time and has 3 siblings. 2 are older than her. Rain enjoys playing hide and seek with her siblings and is a big extrovert. Another special fact about Rain is today is her 12th birthday. Please join us in wishing her a very happy birthday. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to your moderators so they can introduce our first panelist. Skylar, it's all yours.
Thanks, Ms. Elise, and thank you all for joining us today. I have the pleasure of introducing our first panelist, Shalia Seibles. Shalia is a mother, author, and counselor. She was raised in Arundel County, Maryland, where she graduated from Old Mill High School. Shalia later received her Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from Southern New Hampshire University and is currently pursuing her Master of Science degree in clinical mental health, rehabilitation, counseling. Shalia is a counselor in Baltimore, Maryland, and psychiatric rehabilitation coordinator for children and teens. She is the mother to one daughter, Layla, who is 8 years old. On December 17th, 2020, Shalia published her first children's book titled Reach for the Stars, Little Black Girl. In this book, she captures how diverse African American girls are and empowers them to go into the world bold and brave despite the color of their skin, the texture of their hair, or disability they may have. Her goal with this book was to encourage girls to embrace their beautiful Black skin and wear it proudly. She wanted little Black girls to know that even though life may get tough, they can do whatever they put their minds to with hard work and dedication. So dream big and reach for the stars, little Black girl. Welcome, Ms. Shalia. The other moderators and I are really excited to meet you today in honor of Read Across America Day. We would love if you could take the time to share your book, Reach for the Stars, Little Black Girl, with all the youth watching today.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. You girls did really, really good. So now I'm going to start reading the book, Reach for the Stars, Little Black Girl. My name is Aaliyah. I am an architect, which means I draw buildings. My name is Ashley. I am an astronaut, which means I fly into space. My name is Brittany. I am a banker, which means I help people with their money. My name is Casey. I am a counselor, which means I talk to people about their feelings. My name is Denise. I am a dentist, which means I take care of teeth. My name is Hope. I am a human resource manager, which means I help people at their jobs. My name is Isabella. I am an IT specialist, which means I know a lot about computers. My name is Layla. I am a lawyer, which means I know the law. I am smart, beautiful, confident, kind, strong, happy, brave, blessed, important, loving, enough. I am patient. I am a pediatrician, so I help children feel better when they are sick. I am Phoenix. I am a pharmacist, so I give people medicine to help them feel better. I am Precious. I am a pilot, so I fly airplanes. I am Sarah. I am a surgeon, so I operate on people when they are hurt. I am Shay. I am a scientist, so I work in a lab. I am Stephanie. I am a social worker, so I help children and families. I am Taylor. I am a teacher, so I help students learn. I wrote this book to inspire little Black girls, just like my beautiful daughter Layla, to reach for their dreams. As a mother and counselor, I know sometimes life gets tough and we may feel defeated, but no matter the obstacle, you can always beat it. With hard work and dedication, you can do anything you put your mind to. Embrace your beautiful Black skin and wear it proudly. Reach for the stars and dream big, little Black girl. The end.
Thanks so much for sharing this amazing book. Listening to all the different careers you mentioned is really inspiring. That's why, as part of this event, we thought it'd be cool to have a few women from different careers join us to share what they do. So, I would like to introduce our first panelist, Delegate Shanika T. Henson. Visionary and humanitarian, Delegate Henson was born into a family that strives to change communities and impact the world. Born July 29, 1983, to former pastors who have traveled across America spreading their gifted abilities to service and build least reached communities, helped lay the foundation for this Annapolis natives' urge to serve.
Thank you for that introduction.
You're welcome. Passionate about her service, Delegate Henson dedicated her early years to missionary work and food pantry distribution. Her eagerness to pay it forward transitions into adulthood, where she worked with the homeless, raised awareness to pro bono work for domestic violence issues, and helped at-risk and underprivileged children. Inspired, Delegate Henson pursued her career in law by earning her Bachelor's of Science degree from Coppin State University and later her Juris Doctor in Law from the University of Baltimore. Upon graduating, she was admitted into the Maryland Bar as an attorney in 2010 and has worked for the Anne Arundel County State's Attorney's Office, the Young Women Christian Association, and the Maryland Office of Attorney General. Keeping her finger on the pulse of the city, Delegate Henson was elected to represent Ward 6 as a member of the Annapolis City Council and served from December 4th, 2017 until April 29th, 2019, where she became an appointed member of the Maryland House of Delegates for District 30A, servicing over 80,000 constituents, replacing the late Honorable Michael E. Bush. Welcome to the panel, Delegate Henson. Now I'm going to ask Kalina to introduce our next panelist.
Thanks, Maureen. Next, we have Tiara S. Sterlings. Tiara is a Native of Chicago, Illinois, she enlisted in the Navy in 2015 as an aviation electronics technician and was stationed in China Lake, California with air test and evaluation Squadron 9 VX9. She achieved the rank of Petty Officer Third Class before receiving an appointment to the Naval Academy Preparation School in Newport, Rhode Island, where she graduated with the class of 2018. She is currently a student at the United States Naval Academy, majoring in political science and minoring in French. She is an active member of a variety of extracurricular activities to include gospel choir, National Society of Black Engineers, Midshipmen, Black Studies clubs, winter musical, and midshipman action group in her free time. Tiara enjoys writing and performing poetry, exercising and participating in community services projects. Tiara has been an integral part of Clubhouse at Your House, a virtual club experience involving club members all over Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. Welcome, Ms. Tiara. Now we will have Logan introduce our next panelist.
Next we have Minnie Courtney Annan. Minnie has worked for Boys and Girls Club of Greater Washington for nearly 9 years, and currently she is the Senior Director of Impact and Aviation. She has worked with youth for the last 20 years, including her own nonprofit for girls back in their hometown of Volsta, GA. Minnie is currently finishing her PhD at Georgetown University with a focus on language and identity in Washington, D.C. She has been on the front page of the Washington Post in the New York Times and a guest on NPR. During her free time, Minnie loves to play Monopoly, try new cupcakes, and spend time with her pride and joy, her amazing 10-year-old daughter, Hosanna, playing with lots and lots of Legos. Welcome to our panel, Miss Minnie.
Thanks, Logan. Our next panelist is Lavana Colebrook. Lavana is a children's book illustrator and animator that enjoys creating beautiful Black and brown drawings. Her drawings bring sunshine and inspiration to everyone who sees them. Welcome to the panel, Ms. Lavana. Now I will send it over to Rain, who will introduce our last panelist and get us started with an icebreaker.
Awesome. Our final panelist is Cynthia Howard. Cynthia started her police career in April 1987 with the Annapolis Police Department and retired in March 2007 after completing 30 years and retiring the rank of captain. During her tenure with the Annapolis Police Department, she served in several specialized units to include foot patrol, narcotics, criminal investigations, and community policing. Spent several years in the patrol division. Cynthia became the first female to join the Annapolis Special Emergency Team, the department's SWAT team, first African-American female to be promoted to the rank of sergeant, lieutenant, and appointed captain in the history of the Annapolis Police Department. Welcome, Ms. Cynthia. So before we jump into the Q&A, we thought it'd be fun to play a quick icebreaker. This icebreaker is called I'm Bringing to the Picnic. The way we will play is you would think of an item you might bring to the picnic that starts with the letter of your name. So for example, I might say, my name is Rain and I'm bringing raspberries to the picnic. Then you'll send it to someone else on the screen. Then they will repeat the previous person is bringing and then add their own item. Whoever is the last has the hardest job because they have to remember what everyone is bringing. For those watching, please use the chat to let us know what you bring to the picnic. Any questions? Okay, let's play. My name is Rain and I'm bringing raspberries to the picnic.
My name is Kalina and I'm bringing kiwi to the picnic. Oh, my name is Kalina. I'm bringing raspberries and kiwi to the picnic.
My name is Logan. I'm bringing raspberry, kiwi, and lemonade to the picnic.
My name is Skylar. I'm bringing raspberries, kiwi, lemonade, and strawberries to the picnic. I'll pass it to Miss Shalia.
Okay. My name is Shalia, and I'm bringing raspberries, kiwi, lemonade, strawberries, and sandwiches to the picnic. I'm going to send it to Ms. Shanika.
Thank you. My name is Shanika. I'm bringing raspberries, lemonade, kiwi, strawberries, sandwiches, and salad to the picnic. I'm going to pass it to Miss Cynthia.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, hi, my name is Cynthia. I'll be bringing cupcakes to the cupcakes, lemonade, raspberries, kiwi, sandwiches, strawberry salad to the picnic.
You have to
Pass it to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll pass it to Elise.
And I pass it to Miss Minnie.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Minnie Annan, and I am going to bring strawberries, lemonade, sandwiches, cupcakes, which are my favorite. So you can bring extra cupcakes, Miss Cynthia. Raspberries, kiwi, and I'm going to bring the music. And I'm going to pass it to Miss Lavana.
Okay, got a little cheat sheet. I will bring raspberries, kiwis, strawberries, lemonade, sandwiches, cupcakes, music, salad, and Laffy Taffies to the picnic. And I will pass it off to Miss Sterling.
Oh man, I'm feeling a lot of pressure right now. I think I'm the last one. So my name is Tiara, and I am bringing to the picnic raspberries, kiwi, lemonade, strawberries, sandwiches, salad, cupcakes, music, Laffy Taffies, and tiramisu.
I like that.
Thank you all for playing. Now I'll pass it to Kalina to get us started with our Q&A.
Thanks, Rain. The moderators and I worked together to come up with a few questions for each of you. I would like to let you watching know that if they have a question they would like to ask any of our panelists, please use the chat. If we have time in the end, we will ask your questions too.
Right.
My question is for everyone. What made you be who you are?
That's a good question. I don't mind getting us started. By profession, I am an attorney. And I remember when there were two important things that happened in my life. One, when I was 9 years old, Thurgood Marshall, he was on our Supreme Court and he was a justice, and he died when I was 9 years old. And I remember everybody was talking about all the things he did as an attorney and as a judge that was so phenomenal and amazing. One of the important cases he did was he had a case that said that we couldn't segregate our schools. And that meant that we couldn't have different schools for kids that was based on race, that Black kids, white kids, Latino kids, everybody can go to the same school. And that's what Thurgood Marshall worked really hard on. And when I saw that one person could change the entire way that we do education, I thought that's what I would like to be when I grow up.
I think for me, I do two things. I work for Boys and Girls Club, but I also am in school. And so I get to teach at the university. And I think what got me to this place is because I love young people. I love to learn, I love to read, and I love for other people to learn and read. And so Boys and Girls Clubs gives me the opportunity to help young girls like yourselves have different opportunities and experience different things. And then teaching and finishing up my PhD, that really helps me teach young adults to get ready to prepare them for the real world. So that's kind of how I got to where I was.
For me, it was my daughter, Layla. She was my biggest motivation to become an author because when she moved back to Maryland, she was the only African-American kid, not just girl, kid in her class. And that really made her have a whole lot of questions about why her hair was curly and kinky, or, why her skin was the way it was, why she didn't have blue eyes like some of the other girls. So that made me say, I'm sure my daughter's not the only person who feels this way. So what better way than to shine a light on how beautiful you girls are with writing a book and putting a bunch of pictures in it that just shows how diverse and beautiful little girls are, and that you can be whatever you want to be, no matter what it is, no matter the obstacle or anything. And I became a counselor because I love talking to people. I just love to talk to people about their feelings, to try to help them feel better. So now I'm working on my master's degree so that I can become an even better counselor. So that's a little bit of my background.
I'll go next. For me, wanting to work in law enforcement, I come from an area that they call low-income housing. And, most of the time, us African Americans are looked down upon. So I come from a place where, we're looked down on, and I decided I wanted to do more. And as far as being a police officer, in my mind at the time, it was an exciting job that I had the opportunity to get out and help people and get to know different backgrounds of people in the aspect of the job. So it was something exciting I wanted to do and learn, and just to be out in the field and not behind the desk inside. And that was my reason for getting in law enforcement.
For myself personally, I first enlisted in the military back in 2015. And when I got to my first command, there were very few Black women and even fewer in the officer ranks. As a matter of fact, there were no Black female officers at my command. And that was something that I saw as either I can complain about it or I can do something to change it. So because of that, I applied to the Naval Academy to be the example that I did not have for myself, and to also be an example for my family, for my younger sisters, for my nieces, to show them that absolutely nothing in this world is impossible, especially if you apply yourself. So to definitely diversify where we are now.
I can go next. For me, I am where I am now because I want to illustrate people's stories. I wanted to illustrate the story that people wanted to tell. And there's different ways that you can tell your story. You can tell it through music, you can tell it through writing, you can tell it through poetry. And I decided to use my skills in art in order to bring to life people's dreams and stories that they had to tell. So no matter who you are or where you come from, there is something inside of you that wants to be heard. You do have something that needs to be told, and it does deserve to be heard. So I encourage you all to, if you just have a little something inside of you want to share with the world, write it out, sing it out, draw it out, and that's how I am where I am today as a children's book illustrator.
Wow, thanks for sharing. Logan, you're next.
Miss Shalia, you already answered my question, so Skylar, you're next.
Staying with the book, my question is for Ms. Lavada. How hard was it to put details in the drawings?
Thank you for the question. So the hardest part of putting the details in the drawing was figuring out what details to put inside of the drawing. You know, when I got the list of the type of characters that Ms. Seibles wanted to put in her book, I had so many ideas and so many designs that I wanted to put in, but it couldn't all fit into that one book. So what I did do was that I showed her some examples and some styles that I use for my art. And then she and I discussed what would best be suited for the tone of her story, because every story is different and every story has its own way to be illustrated. So once we finalized that, I was able to put in the details needed to bring the story or to bring that particular character to life. If I wanted to should I share my screen now to show, or?
Not yet. We'll ask that question later.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing. Rain, what's our next question?
That's okay. My question is for everyone. How long were you in school to prepare for your career?
I can go because I'm still here. I did a year at the prep school first because I was enlisted and I had been out of school for a while. And now I'm in my junior year. I graduate next year. And I'm not entirely sure where I'll be going, but great things are along the horizon.
I don't mind going next. Ladies, I want to say you're doing a great job moderating this event. And Tiara, we are so proud of you. You are a shining star and outstanding. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of this panel. I'm so glad I got this opportunity to be here with everybody that's on the line. My journey in school, going to law school is, if you go part-time, you can go and it takes 4 years, but I decided to take a lot of classes all at once, and I did it in 3 years. So I went to undergrad for 4 years, and then I went to law school for 3 years. So it was a lot of reading and a lot of studying for about 7 years before I was done with college and law school.
I can go next. For me, it was a bit different, not the most traditional route. I actually did not go to school specifically to be an artist or to be an illustrator. However, when I was in school, I made sure to take, every semester, I took some form of artistic class, whether it be theater, whether it be joining the choir, whether it be joining the still life drawing class. I always took something in school that allowed me to express myself. So that kept up my skill so that afterwards I could pursue it the way I am doing it now.
For me, I'm still currently in school getting my master's, and typically for a degree in counseling, you can get that in about 2.5 years. But because I'm taking a lot of classes at once, I'm hoping I'll be done in about 2 years.
Okay. Cynthia, I'll go next. As far as on the police department, I didn't start college until after I got on the police department. So it's a lot of on-the-job training. And I started with Anne Arundel Community College. And then I went to Louisville, Kentucky for an administrative training. So all of my schooling, all of my college classes, I started on the department and was finished before I retired.
And my journey has been kind of crazy. So I went to undergrad. I did 4 years, and then I did an accelerated master's. So that took a year. And then I started a PhD process, but I had my daughter and she was very sick, so I had to leave school. And then I restarted another PhD process, which I'm almost done now. So if I have to think about how many years it's taken me about 11 years to get my 3 degrees.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing. Kalina, you're up next.
Each of you have very different careers. I would like to know, what is it like being a woman in your career?
Being a woman in my career is very interesting because ironically, at my office, it's only 2 women counselors and the rest of them are men. So that puts us kind of at an advantage because as a woman, when you're talking to someone about their feelings, sometimes we have kind of a softer approach than a man does. So it makes my job interesting because not only am I the only woman, I'm the youngest person. I'm the youngest person at my job. So it's not difficult at all because like Ms. Lavana was saying, I use my voice. Always have to use your voice.
So as a delegate and an attorney, both of those things deal with the law. On one hand, you're making the law. On the other end, you are practicing the law. And in both of those areas, women historically were locked out of that. We know that women had to fight for the right to vote so that we could have a say in the legal process and the process of making laws and to be representatives. And we know that women were not allowed to be attorneys for quite some time. Women couldn't even come into court and testify. Women couldn't sign contracts on their own without the permission of their husband or their father. So when you go into a lot of these buildings that have a lot of history, you'll see pictures on the walls of judges that were there in the 1800s and the 1700s, and none of them look like me. So what's so amazing and empowering about it is that I get to do a job on both ends that I know that people who did it before never would have imagined the day that someone named Shanika Henson would be standing in that courtroom or in that chamber, holding the microphone, making law and practicing the law. So for me, it feels incredibly empowering to bring a voice to a community that's always been here, but didn't always get a chance to have a say.
I'll go next since that was a beautiful, the voice and being a voice for the community. I can totally relate to that. For me as an illustrator, there have been women in the illustration and artistic field. However, being a woman of color is different, especially in terms of going to the level of social media. You don't really see much. You see women on social media, but they always look a certain way, whether they're white or black. It's kind of a little hard to relate to them and feel like your type of beauty is normal. So how in my field, how I show that there's women in that field is I love to illustrate little girls. That's one of my favorite things to illustrate. So as a woman illustrator and a woman of color illustrator, I love to illustrate beautiful brown characters. So that's how I add to my field.
I'll go next. In law enforcement, historically, it's very much a male dominating job. So women breaking the glass ceiling, so to speak, reaching levels, it was pretty difficult. But I can say through the centuries of women being in law enforcement, each woman that has arisen has made it a little easier for other women. However, it is still difficult in certain situations for women in law enforcement. Where I work now for Anne Arundel County Police Department, we just hired our first African-American female chief of police. So we are still becoming the first in making history in law enforcement because it's such a male domineering job, but we do add to the job. And as it was discussed before, as Shalia said, we add a voice. We have a different way of making contact with people. We have a softer side to us and make a difference. So even though it's a male domineering job, we are reaching the glass ceiling and making a difference in law enforcement.
Yes, much like the rest of the panelists have emphasized, being in the military, very much historically male dominated, and even still to this day. And then to add the Naval Academy specifically to the mix, where not only women are outnumbered, but you add on women of color who account for roughly 2% of the population. I won't say it's as rough as it is rewarding to be amongst those numbers. And it also comes with a great sense of responsibility to represent us well, not only for the ones who have come before us, but the ones that are still here now, the ones that are here to come, still knocking down barriers, as other people have mentioned. We just recently got our first Black female brigade commander, which, you know, after maybe like, I think 30, 40 years after we had our first Black female midshipman here. So we're still constantly, you know, showing that we're more than capable of being here, and nothing separates us from the men. We're just as capable as they are.
Thanks for all the great information. And Logan, you're up next.
This question was actually sent in from one of our Clubhouse at Your House members.
Hello, my name is Lola. I am 8 years old. I am from Boys and Girls Club Metro Baltimore. And my question for you is, do you ever feel judged by men for your career choice?
That's a great question. In politics, one of the questions that you get when you are a woman and you're also a mom is, how are you going to balance it all? But we find that when you're standing next to a man who's running for office, who's a dad, that they don't ask those questions. They've infrequently asked my male counterparts, how are they going to balance it all? I think people make presumptions that women have added responsibilities in different areas of our life because we are so dynamic. Women do so many things and we do it well, that people often look at us and they say, oh, how are you going to manage it all? But really, when we're talking about home life, a lot of those responsibilities should be shared. And when you have people in your family that support you, when you have friends that support you, you can find ways to find support to balance it out. But it is a little frustrating when you have to explain yourself in ways that your male counterparts don't have to explain themselves. And you have to give people reassurance that you're going to be able to handle the job when they don't ask those things of your male counterparts. So I think that's a great question. And for me, I've definitely seen that.
I think it's an amazing question. Like, I really think it shows that we're thinking about kind of how society's set up. And for me, I work with a lot of women, right? My CEO of our organization is a woman. I've always had powerful women in my life, but I've also realized as Delegate Shanika said, is how important or how much we see the double standard and how much we, you know, as women, I think, especially women of color, we have to work twice as hard to get there. So when I look at my space in the nonprofit arena, I feel like as a woman of color, I don't get that same kind of questions that I get. But when I'm in the academy, like when I'm at the university, seeing Black women, seeing women of color as professors or administrators, that you don't see that very often. We are a very few number. And I think it's really, really important that regardless if men judge us or even our sisters sometimes judge us, right? Sometimes women can do the same thing. We have to be empowered enough to say, listen, I got this. I know I'm good enough and I'm going to do this regardless of what you say. And you have to just make that your path. And you got to like, let that be your mantra that I'm good enough and I'm going to do this thing.
I'll go again. I find that in law enforcement, as I was coming up through the ranks, that you constantly have to prove yourself to the men that you work with, that you are capable to do the job as well as they are capable of doing the job. Going out for our SWAT team, it wasn't because I was initially interested. I was told that I couldn't do it because I was too weak because I was a girl. And, you know, something inside of me just said, you know, show them, you know, that I am equal to them, that I can do this job. So you constantly have to prove yourself to them that you can do what they can do.
For me, I would say I've never really been judged by men for the field that I'm in. If anything, my art just in general has always been judged, just because when you're in the creative field, you're expressing yourself, you're showing a part of yourself. So that makes you vulnerable, but it also allows people to get to know you better as the type of person that you are. And so since they see you through your art, when they judge your art, they're indirectly judging you. So I have received from both men and women judgment on my art. So it's more of, how do I handle that judgment, and how can I use their comments in order to push myself forward and to enhance my skills? Because even if they nitpick at, like, maybe her hair is too curly or her skin is too dark, I can't see her. I would just make sure that, well, if her skin is too dark, I'll put more lighting in the photo so that you can see her in the illustration. If her hair is too curly, well, maybe you should get used to curly hair, because I decided not to change that. So it's more of how I handle the judgment.
For me, I take the judgment and I use it as motivation, because in my field, not only am I a woman of color, I'm also seen as much younger than I actually am. So people often feel like I'm not knowledgeable. I don't know enough. I'm so young, so I use that to my advantage to prove to them I'm a college educated woman. I'm here because I worked very hard to be here. So I take judgment, and it doesn't discourage me at all, because I know people don't always know how hard we work, because as women, we don't complain, we just get it done. Mm-hmm. So when I go into a field that's male dominated, I look at it as a welcoming challenge, because people oftentimes, they may even pass judgment and don't even realize it. So that's when you can take that and use it to your advantage.
Absolutely. And just to further emphasize what everyone's already said, they pretty much hit the nail on the head. In the military, and even more specifically the Naval Academy, it's very performance-based, and it's very competitive. It's how you advance in ranks, it's how you get different opportunities. And people will write you off very early based on appearance, based on just their immediate preconceived notions and bias of who you are or who you may be. But one thing that I constantly remind myself is, no one can deny character, no one can deny hard work. So not even allowing the naysayers to get to you, and just focusing on being a good person and working hard. You have more to prove to yourself than you have more to prove to other people. And that's one thing that I definitely keep in mind. But also, it again, for me, it's motivation. I will do it simply because you think I cannot, and you will have to watch me thrive. So definitely allow stuff like that to motivate you and keep you moving forward.
Thanks for the question, Lola, and thank you all for answering. Skylar, you're up next.
I would like to know more about your college journey. Like many youth watching, we're just now starting to think about what we want to do. So when you were in school, did you have to study more than you had to do in normal school? Did you still have to do the basics before you could do your major classes?
That is a good question. So when you go to college, you do have to still do the basics before you get to your major classes. So that's your English, your math. Those don't go away once you get to college. But it's rewarding because it just kind of can be a refresher for you, and then you'll transition to doing the classes that target your major. One advice I can say is that I wish I would not have done is took breaks, because as you take breaks, it just makes your journey even longer. So once you figure out what it is you want to do, you get accepted into school, keep going and get it done.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks. Rain, you're up next.
My question is for Shalia. What do you do when you get writer's block?
Oh gosh, what do I do when I get writer's block? I oftentimes take a break. I have to take a break because writer's block is really, really real. I start to jot down different ideas, and then once I get blocked, I just take a break. I do something else. I focus on something else, and then I'll just feel inspired again. And then I'll just start writing all over again.
Good advice. Kalina, what's our next question?
This question was a video submission from one of our Clubhouse at Your House members.
My name is Ivanka and I'm 10 years old. I attend Boys and Girls Club of Greater Washington. My question for you is, what were you interested in as a kid? How did that influence your career choice?
I'll jump in on this one. Animation, cartoons. Oh, that inspired me so much as a kid. I used to watch books like I used to watch movies like The Land Before Time and Five Goes West when there's a lot of 2D hand-drawn animation. Now you have a lot of 3D animation, which is still equally as beautiful. But 2D animation really inspired me because it's literally just illustrations moving on screen. That's what it is. So I was really inspired by the environments they created, the worlds they created, the characters, and most importantly, the stories that they went on. Because when you have a group of friends going on an adventure, trying to find the Great Valley, as they were looking for in that movie, it's very inspiring. You get to see the characters and you get to fall in love with them. So that's what inspired me as a child.
Thanks, Ivanka, for the great question, and thank you each for answering. Logan, you're up.
I have two questions for Miss Shalia. How long did it take you to write your book, and how did you feel when your very first copy was sold?
For me to write my book, it actually didn't take me very long. It took me just a couple of months, and that's probably because I did it during a pandemic. There was nothing else to do. Everything was closed. Spent a lot of time in the house. So it literally took me about maybe 5 to 6 months because I already had a concept that I had been brewing on for a little while. So the toughest part, the longest part was getting the illustrations put together, because when you're trying to get someone else to bring your vision to life, that can be a little bit challenging. And Miss Lavonna did an awesome job. When the book was first published, I cried because it was just a major accomplishment that I never in a million years thought I would be able to do. And it was something that I did. I worked very hard at it. So to accomplish that, it brought tears to my eyes. I was very, 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 very overwhelmed with happiness.
Well, thanks for sharing. Skylar, back to you.
This is another question for each of you. So much has changed for us over this last year as we have adjusted to the COVID-19 pandemic. Could you each share what was your day-to-day like before and after COVID?
So for me, one of the things that I enjoy with being delegate is that people often invite me to their community events. So before COVID, I would get to go to different community picnics or celebrations that people were having. I would get to march in parades with the mayor and the senator. We would get to throw candy and we would get to shake hands with people. There would be lots of music. I would get to do lots of fun things where I was around all of my constituents. I represent about 80,000 people. And so it gave me a lot of opportunities. On my calendar, literally hundreds of events throughout the year where I would go and be around my constituents. And when COVID happened, the ability to be around my constituents was taken away because it wasn't safe anymore. So we're working really hard to get back to a day where that's safe to do again. But until then, I get to do virtual opportunities. I get to talk to people on the phone and stay connected with newsletters and emails and things like that. But before the pandemic, my days, my weekends were filled with going to different parts of my district to see people face to face and attend their happy times with them.
Much like Delegate Henson, day to day, I would do classes all throughout the week. And I was involved in a lot of community projects on the weekends, as well as, just taking that time to decompress with friends And since COVID has happened, we haven't really had the opportunity to do stuff like that. You know, we still do classes. Those are virtual. That is tough. But it really has been a challenge not being able to connect with you all, not being able to go out into the community and connect with the people that are right outside of our campus. But it's been great to see the innovation that we've been able to come up with. You know, for example, I'm in the gospel choir here at school, and usually we're out, we're fellowshipping, we do a lot of churches, a lot of performances. And with COVID, we've had to get creative so that we can still share that joy with other people. So now we have to do recordings. You know, we get together in small groups and we'll record videos that we can send out, in addition to, you know, the different work that I've been doing with the Boys and Girls Club still, doing the virtual lunch bunches, doing the STEM programs, finding a way to still have those connections throughout this time has been a joy, but a challenge as well.
For me and my job, working for the Anne Arundel County Police Department now, I'm the director of the Youth Activities Program. So for us, before COVID, we had a lot of programs that we did, teaching a program in school called Character Counts. And we did a lot of events like take kids on field trips and different things like that. Events during the summer months, football, baseball, all kinds of events, golf with the cops and things like that. But since COVID, we had to shut down for a little bit because we were not able to get into the schools because the schools were closed. So since COVID, we're back in the office, but we're doing a lot of things virtual now and in much smaller groups. So we're starting to get back, but it's very slow.
I would say for me, the difference was that I was actually started studying abroad when before COVID hit. And when it did hit, I had to come back to the States. So I continued my, instead of living my my studying in a foreign country and mingling with my friends and learning the language and continuing my studies there, I had to continue my studies virtually at home. And while I was at home, I delved deeper into my illustration. So that was the difference between the beginning before COVID hit and during COVID and lockdown.
Thanks for sharing. Rin, you're up next.
Miss Tiara, could you show us your uniform and explain what all the special patches are for?
Yes, so try to prop up a little bit. So this red and yellow ribbon is national defense. That's what everyone gets when they enlist in the military. This one, the burgundy one, this is good conduct, meaning I was in for 3 years without getting into any trouble. This is global war on terrorism. It means that you served for 30 to 60 consecutive days while we were going through that tough time. This is a rifle ribbon and this is a pistol ribbon, meaning I can properly operate both firearms. And this one I got when I was at my command in China Lake, California. And it just means that I was qualified to properly handle all of the aviation maintenance jobs in case of a crisis. I'm not entirely sure if anyone would trust me with that because I've been out of practice for a while, but I definitely put in the work to earn it.
Very cool. Logan, over to you.
I would love to know if Delegate Henson could show or describe a bill or proclamation that you were part of getting passed.
Sure. Thank you for asking me. I'm going to share my screen and talk a little bit about the process. So I'm going to go all the way to this slide. What you see on this side is a big board where people vote on the bills. And then what you see on the right side is some legislation that I got passed last year. And that means that these 4 things are now the law in the state of Maryland. And one of them started, the one at the bottom, HB 123, that started with me asking my boss a simple question. I said, why does John get paid more than me? There was an attorney that I was working with, a guy named John, and I found out that John was getting paid more than me. But when I talked to John and I looked at what we were doing, I was working really hard. I was taking more cases. I was winning more cases. I was doing a lot more work than John. So I wanted them to tell me why they would pay him more than me. And when my boss went through and tried to explain it, what he explained to me was that John was making more money at his last job when he came to the firm. So when we came there, he was making more already. And I said, John's dad was an attorney. And John's dad was able to give him a job and pay him a really good salary. Well, my dad was a pastor. Before that, he was a truck driver. So he wasn't able to give me a job at a law firm and pay me a lot of money. So if we're going to make it that the policy, then does that mean that no matter how hard I work, I will always make less than John? And so my boss realized that that was a big problem. He didn't change it. I had to change it. When I came to the General Assembly, I got with some other delegates and we passed a bill that says you cannot take a salary that a person was making and make that a basis for not paying them a fair wage at the job that they're working now. And that was House Bill 123. We passed that last session. In order to pass that bill into law, we had to get a majority of my colleagues to vote yes on that. So what you see on that board on the left-hand side of the screen is 141 names. There are 141 members of the House of Delegates, and we have to get at least 78 of them to agree. And these are 141 people who are from all over the state. So some people come from places that have a lot of farms. Some people come from big cities like Baltimore. Some people come from really nice suburban areas like Montgomery County, so they can see the world really differently. So to get at least 78 of them to agree on anything can be really hard. And when I was going around telling everybody about what happened to me in my job and asking them for their support, I was realizing that I was getting a lot of support from men and women. So we put the bill in, we took it to the floor, we asked for votes. The vote count that you see up there, the vote count is for a different bill, but on that one, I got 102 of my colleagues to agree with me and 34 of them did not agree with me. But is 102 bigger than 78? Yes. So that means that that bill passed into law as well. So that's the process of passing bills into law. I like to consider myself a problem-solving delegate. I look at what problems and challenges I might be having, my constituents are having, and then I put in policies that will solve those challenges. I get my colleagues on board on the same page as me to agree to helping me solve those challenges. And then I bring those bills to the floor of the House of Delegates and ask them to vote with me for a yes. So that's the process.
Nice. Skylar, what would you like to say?
Miss Lavana, could you show any images that didn't make it into the book, or maybe something you are currently working on?
Hello. So yes, I can show you something. So I cannot currently show you what I am working on because I signed an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, which means anything that happens inside of that contract or during the contract, it's a secret. I can't talk about it until it's done and released by my client. But I can show you some behind the scenes work that I did for the book, Reach for the Stars, Little Black Girl. Let me just share my, how could I share my, there we go, share my screen. Okay, so what you are currently looking at are the first rough sketches that I created for the characters. Now, since there were so many characters in the book, I had to make sure that all the girls got equal share and equal illustration and the equal beauty that they all deserve since they're amazing characters. I had two styles in which to present to her. I had the short body style, as you can see over here, the girl with the pigtails, and they look more like little kids, maybe around the ages of 5 or 6. And then you had the tall body illustration, which meant that they were a little bit older looking, probably between the ages of 8 to 10. In the end, we went with the tall body illustration, which was great because it allowed me to add more detail to their clothing. And we also used this basic design here to use for the final illustrations, where there was solid colors used for the character and then using lines and shading for the details, the specific details in there. It also gave my client at that time an opportunity to see what her characters could possibly look like and the direction that we were going in. So that's what I wanted to show everyone today.
So cool. Thanks. Rain, back to you.
On behalf of all the moderators on behalf of all the moderators and youth watching, we want to thank you for taking the time out to speak with us today. We really learned a lot. We also want to let youth watching know that they can go to myfuture.net to participate in Read Across America, Reach for the Stars at Home activity. The club with the most submissions will win a $500 gift card to purchase books for their club. 5 other clubs will be randomly selected to receive $100 gift cards to purchase books for their clubs. Projects must be approved by staff through the My Future staff dashboard by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on March 12th to qualify. All prizes courtesy of Ross Stores.
Thank you again to all of our panelists and Ross Stores for sponsoring the contest. As Ms. Shalia says, to continue to keep reaching for the stars. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.